Explosions and whales. Not two things you usually expect to hear in the same sentence. But in 1970, in Oregon, those two words came together in one of the strangest and most explosive events in history. What would you do with an 8-ton beached whale? Well, Oregon officials thought the answer was simple: blow it up. Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Deep Facts. Today, we're diving into the bizarre story of the beached whale explosion. What went wrong, and why it's still talked about over 50 years later. It was a quiet November day in Florence, Oregon. The wind was crisp, and the waves crashed gently on the shore. But there was something else lurking on the beach. A giant 45-foot sperm whale that had washed up onto the sand. It wasn't long before the town realized this wasn't just a stinky nuisance. It was a massive problem. The whale was dead, and it wasn't going anywhere. It weighed in at a whopping 8 tons, and let's just say it wasn't going to decompose nicely or quickly. Officials had to act fast. The responsibility fell to the Oregon Highway Division, which at the time was more accustomed to clearing roadkill than removing 8-ton sea creatures. Faced with this whale of a problem, pun intended, the officials scratched their heads. They had a few options. They could bury it, which would leave a giant smelly lump on the beach for who knows how long. They could cut it up, which, well, gross. Or they could try something a bit more creative. Enter George Thornton, the man in charge. Thornton had a plan, one that would go down in history. His idea? Dynamite. Yes, dynamite. The idea was simple: blow up the whale and the pieces would scatter into tiny bits, which would then be consumed by seagulls and other wildlife. Problem solved, right? Well, not exactly. They placed 20 cases of dynamite, about half a ton, under the whale. The theory was that the explosion would send the whale pieces far enough into the ocean and sky, breaking it down into small, manageable pieces. But as you'll see, things didn't quite go as planned. November 12th, 1970. The moment of truth. A crowd had gathered to witness the spectacle. Kids, adults, journalists. Everyone was there to see the Big Bang. Even the local news crew from KATU TV had set up shop to record it all. It was going to be a show. But instead of a neat, small-scale explosion, what they got was, well, a disaster. Whale blubber went flying, not just into the ocean, but straight into the crowd. Pieces of the whale rained down like confetti, except it wasn't a party. One massive chunk of blubber even smashed a parked car. That's right, one unlucky onlooker's car was crushed by a giant slab of whale meat. And it wasn't just the size of the pieces that surprised everyone, it was the smell. Imagine rotting whale blubber flying at you at high speed and splattering on the ground. Yeah, not pleasant. As for the plan to feed the seagulls, well, the birds weren't interested in getting anywhere near that mess. The cleanup effort that was supposed to be taken care of by nature turned into a bigger job than anyone had expected. The explosion had only made things worse. Local reporter Paul Linman, who was on the scene, later recalled the day with a mix of horror and humor. His now famous news report on the incident became one of the first viral videos, long before YouTube, Twitter, or TikTok. People across the country tuned in to watch the footage, and the exploding whale became an instant legend. Over the years, the story of the exploding whale became part of Oregon's folklore. It was referenced in TV shows, documentaries, and even inspired a few memes in the early internet days. Today, it serves as a lesson in what happens when creative problem-solving goes horribly, hilariously wrong. If you visit Florence today, there's no trace of the exploded whale, thankfully. But the story lives on, and the video of the event continues to be shared across social media. Oregon has since learned a thing or two about dealing with beached whales. And let's just say, dynamite is no longer part of the plan. So what can we take away from this explosive history lesson? Maybe that sometimes the simplest solution isn't always the best one. Or maybe just leave the dynamite at home next time. Either way, this bizarre event will always have a special place in history as the time when humans decided to blow up a whale and got a lot more than they bargained for. Thanks for joining me on this explosive journey. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more crazy facts from history. And let me know in the comments, what would you have done with the whale? See you next time. Subscribe for more awesome facts.